Jim.
Well, I'd like to do a little bit of a transition to the Puhakaloa situation. You know, on the table back here, there's lots of fact sheets, information on a whole range of things about Puhakaloa. But there's also the leaflet about the protest that's going to be at the Capitol on Wednesday, the 29th.
Right.
And I like this flyer because it puts down the positive things, what people are protesting about, what they're for and what they're against, you know, and it links up, like Polly's saying, a lot of the bombs take many forms. I want to use that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure. The bombs take many forms. We've been working on the prison issue where the Hawaiians are disproportionately in prison. And now we have the attack of the new plantation area, GMO. That's another form of a bomb, right? Now, there's all kinds of bombs taking place here. And I think the Kaho'olawe movement, as was mentioned by the panelists, there was Kalama Valley, which was a spark of a Hawaiian Renaissance resistance. But Kaho'olawe became a focal point. It was kind of the thing that began to unite. It brought out a lot of the kupuna and support, and it began a movement now that, now we have a lot of different bombs landing in many different ways. Huh? And maybe the Aloha Aina banner is the banner, the positive thing against all the bombs that are coming down on us. But I do think Puhakaloa can be a focal point here. It's something up here, right in the center of our island, that we know is there, and is increasing training. You know, the figures are over 14 million live rounds are fired every year up there. It could be 16 million or higher. And as Ku was mentioning, it's not only the police now that are being brought into the fold to use Puhakaloa. Militarization of the police. It's DLNR people are up there doing rifle games. National Guard. You know, the military is bringing a lot of its folks under its wings up there, expanding their base.
The hunters.
So we need to form our own similar coalition, just like they are. We've got to get as many groups who understand what's at stake.
Yeah, but I don't think we can look at Puhakaloa in isolation of all the other bombs that have been falling, as Polly's talking about. And somehow we got to build solidarity across the board there. You know, because let me give you one example of the movements being too isolated like that. This is a picture. I don't know how many people know this woman right here. She was a key figure in the Kaho'olawe movement. Auntie Emma DeFries, a key kupuna.
Very spiritual.
Yeah, and I was involved in the early PKO days. In fact, when the first landing took place, I had organized several dozen people to immediately start the protest in front of the downtown old federal building in Honolulu. As soon as we got word that the people were on the island. I knew George Helm well, and Ian Lynn, and a number of other people. But Auntie Emma, I went to her, I was in jail on anti-nuclear stuff when Richard Sawyer and Walter Ritty were in jail for the Kaho'olawe occupation. We were there. We used to play volleyball in the jail together. So there was solidarity between anti-nuclear and Kaho'olawe. But here, I went to Auntie Emma in 1978, on the anniversary of Hiroshima. This is when they were building a big nuclear storage maintenance base at Westlock at Pearl Harbor. And we had filed a lawsuit there. I said, Auntie Emma, I said, can we get your help and insight what we could do on Westlock? She said, well, let's have a march on Hiroshima Day. And she said, come to my yard. She lived up in New Warren Valley. We dug out of her garden several hundred keiki kalo plants and put them in cups. And everybody, we had about 200-300 people march from Ever Beach Park along the fences of Westlock to the main gate. We were going to have a sit-in. Soli and I, Soli Niheo, a lot of people know that. He and I and others were going to sit in at the main gate. But that gathering, that coming together of Native Hawaiians with the peace movement together, uniting, was the greatest show of military force that I've ever seen in my 45 years or so here in activism. They had machine gun nests set up about every 200 yards inside the fence, facing this peaceful march of everybody carrying a kalo plant coming along there. The military was reacting to people coming together. They saw the danger of it. And I think the issue of if we unite all these bombs that are falling, of GMO, the prison issues, Aloha Aina, the burials, all of this, if we unite that, we are a powerful force, you know, and that's what I'm for. So Puhakuloa, you know, is an important part of that one bombing mission, but not at the exclusion of the others. So it was Auntie Emma, and she spoke there at the main gate. In fact, what happened that day, we had a number of us sitting in. We thought we were going to be arrested and hauled off. The military closed the base for the day rather than arresting us.
Whoa.
They shut shop. They backed off.
Where was this?
Westlock, Pearl Harbor, 1978.
It was the Navy?
The Navy runs it, yeah. So this Auntie Emma to me was you know, the value of the kupuna involved in the movement. Now many of us are white-haired. We used to be young back in the 70s, but now we're white-haired. But to me, this was an important lesson.
And she was a very spiritual person. I mean, that woman could make the oceans go. She could make the inner. Emmett and Kaliko, when she was in the hospital, she was on her deathbed in the hospital. And when they were in her hospital room, there were winds in the hospital room.
Whoa.
And because Emmett was a medical doctor, he was able to. She wanted to go down. She wanted to go down by the ocean and over Kualoa, because those are very, very sacred grounds. And you know, they took her there. But Auntie Emma de Vries was very, very spiritual. One of her ancestors was Kamehameha's kahuna. And she was, you know, so she was, you know, she was more than a kupuna and an elder, but she you know, some of our ancients, you know, they were able to control the weather. You know, and I'm not giving you Shabai, but the fact that in her hospital room there were the winds, and you could ask Kaliko, and you could ask Dr. Emanaluli, and so she was very, very powerful kupuna.
You know, Puhakuloa, I've been focusing a lot on that over the years here, you know. The basics are on a lot of the fact sheets. It's 133,000 acres, 83,000 acres, or just 84,000 acres are just taken, seized by the federal government through presidential executive order. And 23,000 is leased from the DLNR. And they purchased 23,000 from Parker Ranch now.
Recently, a few years ago.
Yeah, a few years ago. But most of it is either presidential executive order or leased from the DLNR. Now, the overall issue for me, you can come at it from a lot of angles, you know, from cultural sites, from environmental, from the role of the U.S. military in destroying countries all around the world, a lot of different angles. We all know, I remember Jimmy Medeiros' testimony at one of the hearings in Waikoloa when they were talking about the striker. I think it was Jimmy that showed up with this little model of the island. And, you know, he poured water on the top and it all runs down, you know. And he said, the lead that they're doing, the lead alone that they're dropping up there right in the center, the high point, the 6,500 feet on their island, you know, it's going to get into the water supply. And all the other chemicals and all that they're using, it's going to affect us, whether it's going to affect us now or our children or the future generation, sooner or later, it's going to affect everyone on the island. So to me, that issue of the military is destroying the very future of this island here by the toxic stew that they're doing, which includes, as you know, the depleted uranium up there. So, and I remember Skippy saying, you know, he used a phrase about, yeah, the cultural sites are being destroyed too, but we just can't be concerned about the diaper and forget about the baby. That it's killing the Aina, the land, and the people too, at the same time as it's destroying the archaeological sites. So all of these issues are interconnected, I think. These are the bombs hitting in many different ways up there. And, you know, they move in one commander after another every 2 to 3 years, just talking to Ku about this, you know. The guy Schwedo has been there, and they're doing more and more PR work all the time. They bring him in, move him out 2 or 3 years, bring in a fresh person to try to, again, give us the Shibai again. You know, we're up against tough stuff, but and we do sporadic actions up there of protest. We haven't done the direct actions of arrest. We built ahus. They haven't pressed us on that. Tried to assert trail issues up there, access, in minor ways, and some protests here and there. But I think we need some kind of coordinated efforts and really people involved. I think we need to file legal actions from learning from the Kaho'olawe movement, legal actions that can be filed at Wapaloa. I think there's a role for direct action. I think there's a role for asserting the access. And let me make this point. In the Kaho'olawe days, in the early days when we were all direct action oriented, the accesses seemed like a step almost back. Agreeing to let the military bomb it 30 days, a month, and then you have access one day a month. Let the bombing go on. You know, but I was wrong on that, because one of the things the accesses did, again, it's another prong, it brought people to the island.
That's right.
And when people went there, they did get some sense of things, and they went back and they kept talking and involved. It built a commitment, a bond to the thing. So I think accesses to different things at Wapaloa has value.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's the only prong, but you know, it's an important one. Huh?
That's something we have to demand from the military, that we do have visitation up there, so that, you know, once we're there, we can see and have a better understanding of what's going on, and also get their story. You know, so I think it's really important to have, to get the military, and that is part of our right, to be able to go up there to Pohakaloa. Ku as well as Kalani were on the cultural committee for Pohakaloa, and you know, maybe they could, you know, share some of that mana'o there through their experiences that they've had as well.
Before Bill Isla became DLNR head, I had organized an access, I don't know what commander was there at the time, but we were able to go up there. They gave us a little briefing and then took us to a couple pu'u, but very limited access to areas, you know, because of, they call it the endangering of the unexploded ordnance and all, but it was minimal. But again, just having people get in there a bit to have access is important. But yeah, poor Kalani, how about sharing anything from your experiences up there?